How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of Beared Down Uncut, the show where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. Today, in episode number 145 of Uncut, we're going to be discussing 5 positional battles that you should keep an eye on as fans at Bears training camp. There are a lot of positions that a couple of players are vying for, so we're going to be breaking down a couple of these positional battles today before training camp gets underway later this month. Welcome back to the show, guys. I would like to say before I introduce myself as well as my co-hosts, we are so grateful for 4,000 subscribers. You guys have been killing it with the support all summer. We're going to keep coming back to you guys with content as much as possible. We've been trying to post the most Bears content on the web all summer. We're going to keep trying to do that. So if you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and want Bears content every day of the week, we're trying to get you guys something every day, whether it be an article, a podcast, anything. Do us a favor, subscribe, follow, and keep supporting us and enjoying the ride because we're going to be putting out content all summer. I am your host, Chris Malpe. Today, to talk about some positional battles, I am joined with my co-host, Jaylen McClinton. Jaylen, it's been a minute. How was your 4th of July? How have you been holding up this summer?
My 4th of July was cool. I was sick. I just got back from Atlanta, so that's where I've been. For most of this time that I've been going.
You've been all over the place.
Yeah, I've been all over the place for real. Vacationing was definitely fun. Got to spend some time with my friends and stuff like that. But it's good to be back. We hit 4K while I was gone. I've seen a bunch of people ask where I was. I'm very much alive and ready to talk some Bears football. If you follow me on Twitter, you know you're like, oh.
Yeah. If you follow Jaylen on Twitter, you definitely know he's alive. Yeah. But let's hop into this. I mean, today we've got to talk about a couple of positional battles within training camp. We've got, I believe, 5 to break down, all of which are as intriguing as the next. But I think you've got to start here. The first 2, I kind of placed these a little bit strategically in terms of how interesting the battle could be, as well as whether or not it's an actual competition or just something we're enjoying being able to watch. But you have to start here on the defensive side of the ball at the cornerback position when looking at the intriguing matchups that the Bears have this offseason. So the Bears released 2-time Pro Bowler Kyle Fuller this offseason, and Jalen Johnson is going to assume the role of cornerback 1. But obviously the outside corner across from him, Jaylen, is not essentially locked down. It seems like it's going to be a 3-way battle between Kindle Vildor, Artie Burns, who are already Bears, and then they brought in veteran who has been pretty solid throughout his career in the NFL, in Desmond Trufant. This is probably the positional battle that most people are looking forward to when it comes to training camp. There's already been some rumors that Vildor has been playing pretty well and turning some heads, but obviously Trufant, as a veteran, when healthy, can be a solid player. So who do you think wins this battle at outside cornerback?
No, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kindle Vildor. We seen him get a lot of playing time at the end of the year when Jalen Johnson went out for the season with a shoulder injury. We see him, play a lot in that playoff game as well. He's a great tackler, for a slot corner, or he can. I feel like he can play outside slot, a little safety. He plays a little bit of safety back in Georgia Southern, so definitely a very versatile, type of player. So, we seen him working out a lot. We heard a lot of stuff coming out of OTAs, in minicamp that he was showing a lot of flashes. For a 5th-round draft pick that Page, drafted last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he got it over a person like Desmond Trufant, who, like you said, has been very solid in his NFL career, but he's very injury prone. When he's on the field, he's solid, but he's not on the field a lot. So I'm gonna go with Kindle Vildor. I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting outside of Jalen.
Yeah, and now let's move into the inside just a little bit further over for the second positional battle I've got here. It's slot cornerback, because the Bears obviously moved on from Kyle Fuller and had that whole cornerback room mixed up. They moved on from Buster Screen as well, and it seems like there's only really 2 solid options here at slot cornerback. There's Thomas Graham Jr., the 6th-round pick out of Oregon, who's a really interesting one because I think the Bears got him at a bargain. And then you've got the in-house name, someone that we also saw a decent bit of last year when Buster Screen went down at the end of the year, in Duke Shelley. If I had to pick someone personally to win this battle, I feel like it's got to be Shelley. I was decently impressed out of what we saw out of him in 2020. He was pretty scrappy getting in there for some solid pass breakups. I think some more time under his belt can help, but Pro Football Focus actually did project that Thomas Graham will be the starting slot corner for the Bears week 1 of his rookie season as a 6th-round pick. So maybe, he did take last year off with the Ducks because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but maybe he has something to show us. But Jaylen, who do you think wins this battle here on the inside at slot cornerback?
I agree. I was a big fan of Duke Shelley when we drafted him out of Kansas State. But like you said, a lot of people didn't think Thomas Graham should have fell to the 6th round. They think he would have went way early if he would have played this year. Except he took it off because, like you said, COVID. So I think, like you said, we got a steal in Thomas Graham in the 6th round, and I won't be surprised if he started as well. Very talented player. He gets his hand on the ball a lot. He gets a lot of pass deflections.
Yeah.
I think it would definitely be a battle. This is probably, other than quarterback, obviously, probably the most.
I was going to say this might be more intriguing than the outside corner that we just talked about. I think this actually might be like a legitimate battle, whereas I think Trufant has an upper hand at outside corner, obviously, but should be interesting to see who takes the slot.
I was going to say, like, if say Desmond Trufant does play that other outside corner spot alone outside of Jaylen, I wouldn't be surprised if Vildor is starting at nickel. Like he said, he played a lot of nickel. In college as well as outside. So we might see, him, Trufant and Vildor start.
And that should be definitely very interesting. Next, let's talk about the wide receiver room, more specifically the wide receiver 3 competition, because this is interesting. The Bears, obviously, there were legitimate reports that they were trying to shop Anthony Miller during the draft. His future in Chicago could be coming to an end very soon. He's someone who has had some attitude issues and also just some weird slips in production throughout time. The Bears brought in a couple of other receivers that are going to be here to compete with Miller, Marquise Godwin, as well as Damiere Byrd. I think that's how you say it. Both Damiere Byrd, I didn't even know. And they also brought in rookie Daz Newsome, who's going to be back in time for training camp and to start the season. So we have a ton of speedsters here, as well as Anthony Miller. Marquise Godwin, probably the one that stands out the most to me. And then Byrd, obviously, had some sneaky good numbers last year with the New England Patriots. So, Jaylen, at wide receiver 3, I mean, obviously 1 and 2, you've got the combo with Mooney and Robinson. But do you think wide receiver 3 is essentially locked down for Anthony Miller? Or do you think we could possibly see one of these other veterans take over that spot?
I think he has the upper hand on a lot of these other guys because, one, he's been in the system for his whole career, and compared to, like you said, Marquise Goodwin, who hasn't played football in a year, and Damiere Byrd, who was with the Patriots last season. So I definitely feel like Anthony Miller has the upper hand, but like you said, he's a very inconsistent player. He has the potential, he has the talent, but rather doing it for a long period of time at a high level it's the problem with him. So if he's not performing in training camp, Marquise Goodwin is, or Damiere Byrd is, I'm won't be surprised if they're our number 3 over Anthony. We've seen him lose a lot of playing time last year. Coming into the season, he was our number 2 behind A-Rob, and we've seen him lose snaps to Mooney, who's now our number 2, who became our number 2 in his rookie year as a 5th-round draft pick. So I wouldn't be surprised if he fell down depth chart again if he keeps regressing as a player.
Yeah, and Goodwin and Byrd, they were both standouts during the offseason program. I believe Newsome actually got hurt during the program, but we saw those guys both flash their speed and potential contributions as deep threats to this offense, and that's something the Bears have looked for Anthony Miller to do for quite some time, and I'm not saying that he hasn't done it, but I don't think the job is essentially Miller's at wide receiver 3. I definitely agree. I think he has an upper hand, but should be interesting to see how this one plays out. Let's talk a little bit more about the wide receiver room before we move on. Jaylen, I mean, we see 2 of our favorite players, 2 guys that we thought had a lot of potential coming into Chicago, really being put on notice as we head into this training camp. We mentioned those 3 names earlier, Godwin, Byrd, and Newsome, and they all seem pretty locked down, at least for now. But Javon Wims and Riley Ridley, if one of them is going this offseason, who do you think it'll be?
That's hard.
It's
Well,
hard because we haven't really seen Ridley contribute.
yeah.
And then when we've seen Wims contribute, it's been very inconsistent, very up and down. And then also, obviously, the attitude problem there, and we only put a 7th-round pick into him. I'd almost have to say Wims personally.
Yeah, I'm not like a lot of Bears fans. A lot of Bears fans want Javon Williams cut. I get, he dropped a wide open pass in the wild card game. Obviously, the fight uh, uh, during the Saints game in the regular season. But if I had to choose, I would probably go with, really. That hurts for me to say. We spent the 4th-round draft pick on him. I thought coming into his second year, he was going to play way more, and we did it because Mooney, shined over him, which I don't have a problem with at all. I love Mooney, but I definitely feel like really was going to get a lot of snaps last year, especially since he didn't play a lot in his rookie year. But coming into his third year, you have 5 guys ahead of you with Goodwin and Bird, as well as Steele Miller and Mooney, of course. I think it's very hard to see him, have a spot on this team. It's definitely not guaranteed, but I think this is probably bigger, even though they probably won't play, battle between him and between him and Wim than it is for the number 3 position. I definitely going to keep a close eye on that during training camp.
Yeah, and whichever one of them does not play up to par probably has a decent chance of not making the roster. And if we were talking about
really get traded before he gets cut. He probably doesn't have a lot of trade value because he hasn't played, but he's still a young, still in his 3rd year, young receiver, body receiver who's a very good route runner.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but I think if we were talking 2 years ago and we said one of those guys wasn't going to be on the team in 2 years, I think we would have laughed in each other's faces. Yeah. Should be interesting to see how that plays out, though. There's a lot to come with the Bears' wide receiver room. Let's talk a little bit about this. There's nothing to actually cover here in terms of a competition, but obviously the quarterback position is going to be looked at a lot. Seems like the Bears are going to be going with Andy Dalton as the Week 1 starter, but it seems like there's no doubt that one of the most talked about roster battles in training camp has to be between the veteran Andy Dalton and the rookie Justin Fields. So, Jaylen, we don't have to talk about who's going to win this job because it does seem like the Bears are going to go with Dalton, whether or not we agree with that or not. But do you think we'll see Justin Fields get some first-team reps here? Do you think this will be more even than a lot of people expect it to be? What do you expect to come out of training camp for Andy Dalton and more specifically Justin Fields?
I think it's going to be the same thing that Nagy said. Dalton is going to get the first-team reps, and Fields is going to get the second-team reps. I think that won't change until preseason, where we really get to see Fields in a real game. But before we start saying, oh yeah, he has a chance at becoming the starter, I won't be surprised at all if Fields is the way better quarterback. From training camp reports. I know we're going to try to go. So if we are able to get tickets, that day we go, Fields is outperforming Andy Dalton. I don't think me, you, Parth, or Zach, whoever goes, is going to be surprised at all. I think Fields right now is the better quarterback. Obviously, Andy Dalton is a veteran. He led the Bengals to multiple playoff appearances. He's been in the league a very long time. He's seen multiple defenses. He knows his way around the NFL way more than Justin does. But I think like Nagy said multiple times, every interview he's went on, every time they've asked, is Justin Fields going to get a chance to start? He says no, and he says Week 1 is going to be Andy Dalton, and I think he sticks to his word. I don't think Nagy has ever lied up to this point about he's saying somebody's going to start it that they end up done.
Yeah, and I expect Dalton to start too, but once again, I think Fields is absolutely there to push up right behind him. And I think Andy Dalton knows that if he slips up, it could be Fields' time to come. So I think the Bears are going to get Fields ready as best as they can because who knows when they're going to need him. It should be interesting to see how it plays out, but definitely going to be interesting to be there in person and see Justin Fields at training camp. 5th and final positional battle in training camp. And this is an important one. We've got the right tackle position. The Bears didn't end up and go get someone like a Morgan Moses this offseason. So they've really only got 2 here. It's going to be Germain Ifedi's job to lose. And then they have the, I believe, 5th-round rookie Larry Borum that's going to be in there to push him. There's not much to talk about here, Jaylen. Are you comfortable with Ifedi starting here at the right tackle position?
I don't think that's a question. Is that really a question? When he was at guard
Ifedi has played in the National Football League and even being spotty a little bit last year, absolutely.
When he was at right, I'm pretty sure he played guard. Like he played guard last year. It wasn't that bad, but offensive line was still terrible for the majority of the season. Offensive line wasn't good till like the last month. When David started going off. So um, between him and the rookie, I guess because he knows the system. He has experience in the NFL, but I wouldn't be comfortable with neither at this point protecting our quarterback, any of our quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I don't know if it's essentially comfortable, but I guess it's just fine with it. I think the Bears did a good job focusing on offense this offseason, bringing in guys like Tevin Jenkins, moving on from Leno and Massey. They're going to be able to get James Daniels back, Sam Mustipher. They have their starting center, Cody Whitehair. So I think the offensive line will be just fine. I'm perfectly fine with Ifedi there. I would like to see what Bourne brings to the table. So it should be very interesting. Thank you guys so much for tuning into episode number 145 of Uncut. Do us a favor before you go. Follow/subscribe, whatever platform you're listening on. We're going to keep bringing you guys Bears content every day of the week. And if you are listening on YouTube, do us a favor. Drop a like and go down in the comments and let us know which positional battle you guys are looking forward to. If you want more content from us, head over to our website, beareddown.com. We're posting columns, articles, and blogs every day to keep you guys posted with what's going on this offseason surrounding the Bears. If you would like to find the podcast on social media, you can see sneak peeks of guests we're having on and enter our giveaways that we do every couple of months. I've said it earlier. I'll say it again. We're gearing up here sometime in July for a Justin Fields jersey giveaway. So be sure to check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Beared Down. And finally, you can find the links to our social media pages down in the description, myself as well as Jaylen. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Twitter. That's where you can see all of our thoughts on all things Bears, the National Football League, and the entirety of Chicago sports. Jaylen McClinton, it's definitely been a while since recording with you. It's been even longer since you, me, and Parth have recorded collectively. But any last words before we close this one off?
Once again, thank you. Once again, thank you guys for 4K. That means a lot. Like I know every time we hit a milestone, right? We hit 3K, 2K, 1K. Honestly, I never expected us to get this big because, to be honest, I didn't. We were just doing this for fun, and the fact that we have a whole fan base and stuff like that, being able to talk to Bears players is crazy. So, thank you guys for that. And we're gonna still end up going. I know it's not a lot of content being out right now. This is probably the worst time of the NFL offseason. Right after the draft, right after mini camps. It's like waiting on training camp. So, but 3 weeks into training camp, I can't wait. Hopefully, we'll be able to go. Bears started this stupid shuffle thing, so for tickets, which is or raffle thing, for tickets. So hopefully we're able to go. Definitely gonna be a fun time, but that's about it right now.
Yeah, it's every milestone we hit, it continues to surprise me. Similar to you, a year and a half ago, we had 300 subscribers, and we're just doing this for fun and had zero idea what to do. And then one day we just decided to map it out and didn't know how big it was going to get. And your guys' support keeps on pushing us, and we continue to make content when we can. Jaylen said it, things are a little bit slow right now. So if we're inconsistent, we apologize. But you best believe once things are back and up and running, we're going to be on it for sure. And we want to bring you guys the most comprehensive coverage on the web. I think that's what differentiates us from everyone else and what gets people to come back here. So once again, thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure to be your host. My name is Chris Malpe, and Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.